So, in general, how has the fall started so far for you?
Actually, after that summer, I'm kind of it's I got used to the hot weather here in Berlin, so it's always it's a moment when the days are get darker. That I feel like, oh, it's a good time to leave Berlin right now, which unfortunately I can't at the moment. But it's always, I mean, it's the same as in Finland, like when the fall starts, it gets very dark and you get in a certain kind of mood. I got used to the sun, I must say.
Okay, so you aren't the kind of musician who is like more creative when it's dark.
Actually, no. I don't know. Actually, it's a good question to answer. I mean, I definitely get in a very very dark mood when weather really affects my the writing process. That's for sure. I don't know if it's better or worse. I love the lightness, and I kind of changed. I used to work like when I was younger, a lot of times through the night. I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm like right now trying to let the light change my mood and let the light affect or the days affect my my positivities, so to say.
Okay, so obviously we are doing the interview because Emigrate is about to release a new album in the end of November. So first off,
Yeah,
could you tell us a bit about the writing process for the album, since I guess you had quite a lot of setbacks with it.
I did a big one actually.
Yeah.
Actually, there was two things. The one thing was had to do with heat, and the other with fire, and the other one had to do with water. So that those two elements played a kind of a role in my recent Emigrate records. The first one was in 2015, where I felt really burned out, and I felt I couldn't really be 100% on the project, and I felt that kind of the passion was gone. Maybe I was trying to do another record too quick, and it's kind of hard if you like working like so many times alone, and you kind of not feel that motivated. It's normally there's other guys that kind of carry you on and bring back the motivation. With Emigrate, if I'm not motivated, then it kind of falls apart. And so that's what I did. I left it alone for a while, and then 2017, a big water damage destroyed all my hard disk and all the recordings, which I kind of had to start from zero. But after a while, after like getting past the first time of frustration and anger, I kind of took it as a new beginning, also as a challenge to start to write something out of my memory. And the funny thing is, like, because I did like this is the first time I talk about this record. Normally I'm only my family and my friends hear the record, and so I get like a kind of a feedback, which like a lot of people say, well, it's such a positive record. And I was like, really? And maybe that's the secret, that I should write something, destroy it and start out of memory rewriting it, it's maybe it's kind of a method in there. I don't know.
So yeah, I can actually see that it is a positive because I feel also that those tracks are in a way happy, so to say.
Yeah, it's strange because one definitely I didn't get that feeling on the first recording. So maybe something has changed. Maybe that has to do, with. I don't actually know. I have no idea why. So it's what it is, and I'm very very happy about it. I can say that I'm very satisfied about the result that came out. Well, I started to change a little bit the team. I was working with a new mixer producer from Germany together, Sky van Haff, which turned out very very interesting, and yeah, I'm like when I listen to the record, like just talking about sonically, it's like I think this was one of the best sounding record I've ever made ever. So I'm very, I'm very happy about the result.
So obviously there is a new Rammstein album in the pipe. So were you actually doing like both albums at the same time, or how did that
Well,
go for
it
you?
was obviously it wasn't planned like that, because the Emigrate record was in my mind, finished even before, and I was planning on like bringing it out much earlier, but then it took me so long to just kind of like like building my studio again and working in the studio. There were so many technical aspects that we had to take care of it, and this always was kind of a sit back. And so, but then I felt like that their Emigrate definitely has their at the moment the first priority, because when I go back to the I say to the main wife, then I really will not have any time to get this baby out. So as we plan right now with Rammstein, like mixing the new record in December and getting it out next year, and then starting a new tour. It's gonna be busy for the next 3 years. So there was no chance of getting the record out after that. So it was. It's a little bit too rushed in a way that those two records coming out, but this is the only way that I had to do it.
So did it felt like therapeutic for you to do those both along, that you could basically have that band alongside where I guess you are like musically free to do whatever you want basically?
Say again, I couldn't hear that question.
So did it feel like therapeutic to work with this Emigrate album along with Rammstein,
Well,
because you can
well,
basically do musically whatever you want with it?
well, I mean, it's always a different way of writing for Emigrate than for. I mean, not the writing process is actually almost the same in this time. Before I was really trying to pay attention, which idea would fit into which project. Nowadays, I actually realized, like for example, there was a lot of songs that I was intending to write for Emigrate that got chosen by Rammstein actually. Uh, so now I'm just trying to write as good as possible, and who is there first, gets the shot, kind of. Um, but of course, it's a different way of writing. It's the opposite of Rammstein, what I do with Emigrate. Just because of collaborating, with so many other musicians and other singers, changing the team, and really, it's like the opposite of having a band for 25 years. I really try to change as much as possible. It's very, it's like having like 20 different lovers, kind of, in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
good way. And nobody is mad if they're leaving, kind of.
So musically, this album is like quite diverse in a way that I think each track stands on its own. So was that kind of like your plan when you were trying to write it, or did you had like a clear vision what you wanted to accomplish with it?
No, I don't really have a vision in a way. I mean, I do have obviously vision about certain kind of thing, but like when I write music, it just comes out as it comes, and like I have a certain method how I write, which comes actually from a painter from New York that showed me, he was like, when he goes into his studio, he has like 10 different paintings laying around, and he paints for a while, one painting, and if he doesn't feel connected, he goes to the next. And it's the same how I write. If I go to the studio and I open up songs, and then I feel like there is a connection, and then I stay. If there's no connection, then I leave and go to the next one, and until things are finished. So there is normally not really musically wise like an idea of what I want to do. It's a really open space, where ideas, and it can change from day to day in a way. But there was one idea I thought that I was trying to do. I was actually thinking of like making a making a movie. I had a story lined up, which I was kind of very interesting. I'm like getting a little bit into film writing these days, and I was trying to maybe think of doing a film and using the record as a soundtrack. But and I was actually like meeting like a lot of directors, and we talked about it, and it took me like half a year to to get this project going, and then I realized the story was so complicated and interesting in a way, but I didn't have the money to produce that film, so I had to kind of say goodbye to that idea, and went back to the usual thing that you actually just make a record.
Okay, so how important do you actually feel that Emigrate doesn't have like any musical boundaries, that you can basically do whatever you want with it?
Well, I mean, it's a very good feeling. I mean, I never really worked very good under pressure in general. You know, we also have the freedom with Rammstein. It's just like there's another five guys that and normally I'm the one that pushes the thing. So I'm with Emigrate. It was great. For example, to just leave it alone when I felt like I don't have the passion at the moment. So it's a um, it's what is it? It's a privilege, in a way, to have that freedom. I mean, I always said Emigrate is not was never a project out of commercial things, even though it goes really well at the moment. I must say, I wasn't expecting that. It was always a project out of love and passion for music, and just the idea to work with like those singers, and it's a really honor to do that. So I love the idea to do that. So
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that there's quite a lot of like really interesting guests also on this album, and there has been interesting guests on the previous albums as well. So how does that process normally work for you? Do you do the track like ready and then decide that hey, I would like to have this guy singing on it, or do you already know the guy who is gonna be singing for it and then you do the track for him?
well, mostly it's like I'm writing the song finished, and then I'm thinking about like who could actually be part of the track. And normally, like the song tells me actually, which singer the song wants. You really have to listen to the song. It's something I learned. It's those songs there that become like have their own identity after a while, and you have to really listen carefully. What they want. If you push them too far, you realize. I mean, obviously you can do that, but you realize it's not the right way. I think people realize it's not as well. It's not as authentic as let the song decide what the song wants to do, and I'm just a tool to translate like what the song wants, kind of. Um, but there are also there's uh, um, sometimes ideas that I have, or I think the song. For example, there was a song "War" that I thought like the song wants Serge from System of a Down to sing on it. So I asked him, and he said like, well, he really loves the song. And then next day he called me back and told me that he doesn't know what to do. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I like the song as it is. I'll leave it like that. And I thought in the beginning, well, just tell me that if you don't have time, if you don't like the song. He's like, no, I really like it. So I took it like as a compliment and left the song as it was. Um, or like, for example, the other song 1, 2, 3, 4, I felt like this was a song that I only have my voice on it, and I didn't really think of having any collaboration with a band from Billy Talent. And my manager told me if I would be open for a collaboration, and I said like, yeah, let's try it. And when I heard his voice on the track, he made the track so much more alive. I always felt this song in particular is a very is kind of a live song in a way. It stands out as a really, you can hear the band play, and he even made it more live. He had like a certain kind of almost like a punk attitude to it, which I really liked. So there's different ways, and there's also like like people that I think I would love to work with. It's like one name that always pops in my mind that I want to write a song with Martin Gore from Depeche Mode, which is really, appreciate his work, and I'm a big fan of his writing, so that would be interesting. So, but if I would work with him, it probably would be more differently, that I would like have maybe an idea, and he also writes something, and we kind of like doing it together in a way that I could imagine. Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that you actually like kind of like listen to the song and then decide who would fit into it, because my personal favorite song from the album is I'm Not Afraid, and I think it's kind of had the Ghost feeling in it, and that's why like Cardinal Copia obviously fits the song like super well.
Well,
So
I mean, it's interesting that you say that, because when I was writing, I was thinking of him, but I didn't know him so well, so I forgot about him. And I was actually, we were looking for producers, like, and for Rammstein, and we had like 3 producers that we were considering, and then I realized, I was checking those producers out, that they have worked with Ghost already. So I called them up, asking him about his experience with those producers, and he said to me, well, I'm gonna be in Berlin next week, I will come. I never met him before. So he came over, and we really got along. And then I remembered the song, and I was asking him if he's open for collaboration, or if he has done any collaboration. And he told me that no, he's not. He doesn't do that. And I was like, okay. And I thought, like, whatever. It's like, if do you mind, I can play the song. So I played him the song, and he looked at me and said, well, I'm in. I'm doing it. So very simple, and again, like, maybe the song asked him in another way, that he said, like, all right, I'm gonna do that.
yeah, and it obviously fits kind of his style, so I can clearly see why he said yes to you.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a track also called Let's Go, which features your Rammstein band friend Till. So and obviously that's nothing like what Rammstein has done before. So how did that work for you?
Well, to be, of all of fairness, this song is a very, very old song that has been written from the very day one of Emigrate, because I started kind of Emigrate with Till, actually. We didn't start Emigrate, we started something together. We were trying to do something, both of us, without the other guys. And when the other guys got wind of it, they told us that they weren't really happy about it, so we stopped doing that, and then I went from that to starting my own thing. But I already had that song, and I rewrote that song by thinking, what is it that I actually want to talk about this song? And I had those pictures in my mind where, like, there was a time, after the wall came down. I mean, I've been friends with him for a long, long time. Like, we go back like 87 or something. But especially like around 89, there was a time that we were like almost, it felt like the Wild West. It's we were into some crazy shit. Let me put it that way. We were on a like half legal way that we did, and it was just really, really interesting, the time, and I really have a very strong memory out of it. And I was trying to write about that time and our friendship, that's what's the song all about.
Okay. So speaking about Emigrate, obviously as you mentioned, Rammstein has a new album in the works which is coming out, and it was announced like an hour before this interview that you will also be coming back to Finland with the stadium run in August. But what kind of like plans do you actually have when it comes to Emigrate? Do you plan on playing shows with it, or will it just remain as a studio project now when you are busy with Rammstein, or what does the future hold?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the way it is right now. I like to work in the studio. This is like my main work. This kind of work brings the most pleasure out of me, because it's about creating something which I really love. It's like, that's my life, and like playing live. I already have a band doing that. I know it's not Emigrate, but it's a very, very, very thin balance that I have to keep between both those projects. And at the moment, first of all, there's no time, as you said, like, there's a new record coming out. We're going to be on tour for the next 3 years, and so it's kind of like, you know, you have a main wife and you have a lot of like lovers, and when the main wife calls, then you know, you definitely gonna be there for her. It's kind
That
of that feeling, you know. And they're cool, you know. The band members are cool. If I have my little lovers on the side, but it's yeah. I don't really need it in a way, you know. I mean, yes, there are songs that I would actually play live. You know, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll actually ask. There's something I was thinking yesterday. You know, maybe ask Rammstein if they would like play an Emigrate song. You know, just for fun of it.
yeah, that would be really interesting to hear live.
Yeah, it's just like, you know, I don't know. It's like I don't know. It's just it's an idea. We'll ask him.
Yeah, yeah. So, in the end, a bit about the stadium run. So, I guess it's gonna be like production-wise pretty big. So, how excited are you actually to get up on
Well,
stadiums playing?
yeah, it's rough. It's like it's I have a mixed feeling about that. Like, you know, because you kind of, you know, I mean, I'm obviously I'm looking forward to do something like that because we haven't done something like that before. It's like a next step.
Yeah.
On the other end, you know, it's also a big responsibility. You know, I know we set up like the performance on a very high level, and to continue doing that, you know, I'm like we're in the middle of doing that, and it's just realized like in the stadium, it's different. It's just everything is different. You have to think different. You know, you have to deal with daylight. You know, and it's just all those things you have to consider, and it's not that easy. It's just actually very, like, my brain is like running around circles, like thinking about what you can do and what you can't do, and we're hopefully we're like, you know, coming up with something good.
It's funny enough that you mentioned that because I've seen you live like 4 or 5 times, and I've always thought when I've seen you live that is there even a way to basically top this show? And you have basically every time done that. So and the bar is obviously quite high, so I can feel
Yeah,
your pain with that.
yeah. You hear me, brother?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah. It's really we're in the middle of it, and I'd say it's going to be interesting. You know, I'm just like thinking of you know, the world of Rammstein, that eventually something will come up. I hope. You know, I mean, at this point, I'm very, very happy to have 5 other guys, you know, that have to bury the burden as well. You know, I mean, just to think about you're gonna be by yourself with that kind of decision. Ooh, so I really feel comfortable like having another 5 guys to worry about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So hey, Richard, thank you a lot for all your time and all the best with everything you have in the pipes. Anything you want to say as last words to all the Finnish fans reading this afterwards?
Well, you know, I would love to say a big hello to my Finnish drummer Mikko. You know, this is something I want to say. You know, and I miss him. I love him, and I can only say so many good things about this guy. Like, you have a very cool, well-behaved, friendly, positive, good Finnish, how do you say, citizen in you. So
Yeah, yeah.
I really, really love him. You can be really, really, really proud of this guy. I tell you, this is like a very special guy.